Hello everybody, it is February 4th. What a incredible day. The temperatures are starting to come up. Everything's starting to get really happy around here. I mean, we're heading into spring. What an incredible time of the year. All the trees start to bud up. Fruit trees, regular trees. I mean, it's just the best time of the year. In fact, that bug starts to bite me, and that's what I'm working on today. And I want to share a few things with you. One of the things I like to do around here, well, grow stuff, from vegetables to fruits to anything that I can grow in the dirt or aquaponics. Now, I say dirt. For me, dirt is on the ground and soil is something I create, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that too while we're working on all this. But one of the things I like to do is set up IBC totes with my soil. In other words, soil that I've either composted or created from, thatch in the woods or just trimmings and just stuff I've been working on for several years. All my compost piles, and then all the different soils that I have, I combined and put a few things in it, and I grow stuff in it. I do absolutely love gardening on the ground in the dirt, but it's a lot easier when you can get it up close to you to be able to work on it. So that's what I'm going to show you. I use a lot of IBC totes around here, and I'm going to show you a few of the things that I do with them. And one of the things is I put my soil in it, right? And then I do aquaponics, and I use gravel, and I'll show you that here in a minute, to do a flood and drain type system to where I can grow stuff into gravel the same way that I would in the soil. So that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a couple of my techniques that I have that I use around here that is very successful and works very well for me. All right, so this is one of the systems that I left together. This here has a flood and drain system in it. This is a bell siphon system. In other words, when the water gets up to a certain height in here, it automatically gets drained out through this bell siphon. And I'll go over this in more detail down the road. This is a very successful bed right here. It has a gravel in it that has a lot of different type minerals in it. And that's why I like using this. A lot of people will probably disagree with me, but I've had better luck using nature than using some of the clay and all the stuff that you use for aquaponics and hydroponics. Now, of course, on the very bottom here is fish. This is where you would keep your fish. Put a small pump in here. It flows up to the top and siphons itself down, and it goes through this up and down motion and keeps everything nice and wet. Or you can put it on a timer and you allow it to, well, if you want it to flood the bed every 2 hours, then that's how you set it up. So that way you can grow tomato plants in it, give it time to kind of dry out a little bit, and then pump some more water into it. Works very, very well. I've been very successful using the aquaponic, the flood and drain system. This is actually going to go in my garden out here this year. So it'll be right out there in the sun. So this will be fun. And let me swing over here and show you something else I do with the IBC tote. I create different type systems for growing fish. This one's not up and running right now. I got to get it all fired up and cleaned up. Right now the duckweed's starting to come up in it. The water temperature's just getting right. So this here is a concrete system that I put together, and it just allows me to keep animals out of my fish. Now once this is all cleaned up and working, this is sparkling clear. Everything's made out of concrete. So it's just a very nice and easy way. It's not exactly easy. It takes a little bit of time to build it, but it stands up a lot better than some of the other tanks that I've had in the past. So work in progress. I got this system. Now this system here actually goes through the ground over to another IBC tote, and it's part of the filter. And I'll swing you over here and show you that. All right, so here is the other side of it. The pump goes down in this side. The water gets pumped up from this one, and it flows over to the other tank I just showed you, and it goes down through the drain there and back up through the bottom of that other tank. And it just works really well. So it's basically like a siphon system So I pull water out of one tank and put water in the other tank, and the force of the water coming into that tank pushes it down and into this tank right here that you're looking at. It works very well. So it's a slow water moving system. And in this tank here, I've got some filter material in there and maybe a couple fish in there just to keep mosquitoes out and that kind of stuff. But it works very well. Now I'll get it up and running here in a second, let you take a look at it. But I've got probably 3 other areas in here that's going to get some more of this. It's just kind of work in progress. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire this up real quick because I haven't had it running yet this year, and see if it runs still. We'll see here in a second. All right, so it's still working. I'm surprised because every time I leave a pump down for that long of a time, well, you tend to have problems with it, but it fired right up. So that's really good. Within no time at all, this will start to clear up, especially once the water temperature gets up above 55 and this whole system starts to come alive. This system clears up like it's sparkling clear. And once this tank gets cleared up, you can see the fish. I mean, it's just a really nice tank system. So again, the water gets pumped over here. The pressure of the water coming into the tank goes down. Now keep in mind, it's the same tank as this. So the top just sits on top of this, and those tanks sit down into this IBC tote. So it works very well. So the water comes into here, the pressure forces it down through the pipe, up into this one, and then up through the bottom of this tank. And then that pump right there, you can see it there, it's coming up right here. That is the pump down in the water, pumps it back up over to the other tank. I think they've called it like an Egyptian type leveling system, where the water, it stays the same because the pipe is connected from one tank to the other, unless you pull out of one tank and put it in the other, so it creates that circulation. It's a really nice system and it works very well. Now, not only can you do it like this, just having fish over here and maybe some plants sitting in there, whatever you decide to put in this tank, you can do a floating raft, and I'll bring you over here and show you that. All right, so this one's not completed yet. I still have quite a bit of work to do, but this here allows you to put some cups in here and have some aquaponic type cups in here for growing whatever you might want to grow. From lettuce, any of your herbs grow really well in a system like this. So the cup, you load the cup with whatever media that you put in there, from dirt to rock to whatever you decide to put in that cup, rock wool, you put your seed in that cup and it sprouts roots, and now that plant is forced to live off the water and all the nutrients in the water. It works very well. So that other tank over there that I showed you had nothing in it, it's tied to this one. So this works on the same principle. Like I said, it's a very nice system and it works very well. Just this one raft right here, man, I can grow hundreds of pounds of lettuce with just this one raft here. So it's a very cool system. So there's a little bit of an update on the aquaponic side. These are just a few of the ones that I have around here. But what I want to show you now is the soil side. So here's 3 of them that I've already set up. And in here, there's multiple layers of stuff. And the only way I'm going to be able to explain it to you is, well, show you. And I'll show you that here in a second. But I'll give you a rundown of what this is. So on the very bottom, there's a drain hole for the IBC tote. Actually, it's on the other side. So there's the drain hole. All right, I leave that open in order to, just let some of the water out, so we don't need this to fill up with water during a really big rain. So where that drain hole is on the bottom, I usually pick up a lot of stones, rock, brick, whatever I can put on the bottom to protect that port going out to allow it to drain. And then once I get a level of rock in there, I will come in and put something on top of it, like an old filter mat, filter material. I don't have any up here yet, but I'll show you that here in a second. You're going to see the entire process. And that allows the water to drain through and then keeps enough water and moisture for your plants. So it works really well. So we got rock, we got the little filter mat, and then I put in a layer of my soil, and I put that on top of that. And then I'll come in with some earthy type stuff. And what I mean by earthy type stuff is stuff that is in the woods or on the edge of the garden, like just, well, let me show you. So anything that grows mycelium, grows worms in it, mushrooms, like this log right here. I will keep these around until they start growing. So this is already growing. It's got some mycelium and mushrooms growing on it already. And if you roll this over, it's loaded with nature. Anywhere from bugs to anything that's going to eat that log, all your microbes, all the good stuff that your garden needs. And maybe some bad things at the same time, but it's a balance. So these logs right here will go on that next layer. And that next layer is probably, I don't know, let's say about right here. Right, that is full of living logs. Let's call them living logs. Just anything that's in the woods that is growing, or anything that you put aside that has things growing in it, that's what I put down there. There's a couple words, I think they call it hugelkultur, where you use, rotten and decaying wood, and you build a mound, and then you build all these layers. Kind of the same concept here. We're doing it in a container, in an IBC tote, where I can control one tote at a time. So then, once I get the wood in there, then I'll take some cardboard. I hang on to all the cardboard that I have around here. I don't throw it out, I don't burn it, I just go lay it somewhere. I remove all the tape and as much sticker as possible off of it. Then I'll lay that layer down there. All right, I don't know, maybe an inch of different cardboard, different pieces of cardboard. So now that creates another earthy type situation, especially for redworms. I have a lot of redworms in the soil. They just naturally start coming whenever you do compost, or you can buy worms to put in here. I mean, worms are very beneficial to something like this. So then I'll come in after that layer of cardboard is in there. That acts as a really good place for all the microbes, all the good microbes, the worms, and all that good stuff. Then I'll bring in some more soil. Now, if you notice on here, this is biochar. All right, so I make a lot of biochar. Anytime I have, small limbs and stuff, I have containers around here that I can make biochar. If I don't use that container, then I will make biochar by starting a fire and then moving that fire and then raking up all the small pieces of biochar, charcoal. It's very important. It acts like a sponge, and it soaks up a lot of nutrients. So in that process, after I make the biochar, I will take and charge it. And what I mean by charging it, I will take and put it in a sack, like a pillowcase or a laundry sack or something like that. And I will take some soil that I know is good, and I will make like a mixture of tea. And we'll go over that in detail. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I just kind of keep it simple. I just take that bag of soil, put it in a bucket, put an aerator in it. I even use a little bit of molasses, and then I will make that tea. And then I'll take this biochar and put in another pillowcase and let it sit in that bucket. So what it does is soaks up all that nutrients that is in that bucket and kind of charges it. So it's like nature's fertilizer. So this carbon, the biochar, just soaks all that nutrients up, and it just allows you to, well, leave a spot for the plants to grow down to really latch into this and grow and have all the microbes and everything it needs. So that's it in a nutshell, and I will go over in detail in another video how I do it, but it's very simple. So a layer of this, once it's done, I'll put a layer, and I think that layer is probably somewhere up in here. By the time I get it all done, I've got the cardboard, the biochar, and then I've got some more soil, and I got a big thick thing of soil in here. And then I still come in on this layer right here. You can see where we've got, you know, good 7 inches here that I'm not done with this yet. So I've got a layer of biochar here. Now this topsoil that I'm going to put in here, well, I'm calling it topsoil because I'm going to refine it a little bit more. I'm going to filter out all the solids that has not decomposed in this soil. I'm going to make it really fine, like get rid of all the big chunks. So whatever I plant in this will just grow really good. And then once it gets past this, then it has all that nutrients down there. So if it wants to grow super deep, it can grow super deep. So that is it in a nutshell. I know that's probably a little more involved than I was going to tell you about at this point, but that's it. So that is the IBC tote that we're going to create here in a minute. All right, so here's a nice little collection I just went around and picked up. Here's a corner piece of concrete. That'll work perfect because it'll go right there, cover up that port or that hole right there. That's a good start. Let's put that one right there. Maybe this one there. Another one there. Let's see what else we got on this bucket. There we go. Maybe there. Maybe put one right there on that. Down there. So nothing fancy. I mean, it's just whatever can keep us from clogging that drain hole up. All right, so here's a piece of that filter mat that I was telling you about. I use a lot of them around here in different filter systems for, you know, fish and ponds and just whatever I might need it for. I mean, this filter mat does a really good job, but it also does a good job for keeping that soil right down there. All right, so now we just need to fill this up with soil. I am going to use soil on this. You could use dirt, just something you dig up with, but it would compact a little too much down here. I'd rather have some good soil in here. That way we can have a halfway decent drainage. So probably about a foot of soil, and I've got that right over here. So let's go ahead and get that done. One down and probably 4 more to go. Alright, so here's a good example of a log that I had laying around. It's starting to be broke down. It's got a lot of life in it. Worms, roots, well, we don't need that in there, but that is perfect. Mycelium starting to grow in it. Mycelium growing right there. It's got worms, it's got a little bit of everything in it. All right, so that looks good. I mean, the amount of mycelium and everything that's in here is just awesome. All right, so because I have several tanks around here that have hyacinths in here, this is far enough down to where, well, it can do a little bit of benefit for the simple fact it can feed some of the stuff that's down there, and maybe once the roots hit it, can supply some more nutrients. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a layer of this on here because I have a bunch of it, and then I will put the cardboard on it. Alright, so I got a bunch of pieces of cardboard. Try to get as much as possible in here. I've pulled all the tape, staples, anything that has color on it. Got rid of it. This just seems to work the best. Now, a lot of people use this for keeping out weeds. I just use it in worms, if you're growing worms or anything like that. This works really good for bedding for worms, and then they eat it. So it just creates food, just moisture. I mean, cardboard does a lot. So I use a lot of it. I have a lot of boxes that I use around here that, well, instead of burning them, I do my best to put them to use. So there we go. We got a layer of cardboard. I may put a little bit more in here. All right, so I'm not going to charge this with a bucket of, molasses and earth. This is already charged up from just being out in the weather, and things have been growing in it, so it's doing pretty good. So we're just going to sprinkle that on here. All right, so there we go. That looks pretty good. It's not time to do any planting right now. We still have plenty of cold weather. I just wanted to get these out of the way. Today's a really nice day. Sun is shining, the temperature's up really nice. So it's just a really fun time to be doing something like this. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe another month less, we'll get something planted in here. I'll get that last layer put in here. And like I said, it'll be a really fine soil. It'll be sifted. Nothing in there to really keep the roots from growing, and then they'll get growing, and then they'll get into this stuff down here, and hopefully they'll do good. So only time will tell. We'll get some plants in here and see how good we did. All right, that's it for now. We'll talk to you in the next one.